Hello riders, welcome to Cycle Training with Trinity. My name's Trinity and today we have a nice and easy 75-minute endurance ride. So go ahead, get settled on your bike and let's get started. All right, so go ahead, just start to get your legs spinning. Super easy gear. Free spin, no set pace for these first few minutes. We're taking these first 5 minutes just to get our legs moving. I always like to assume that you guys are just getting up for the day, haven't done much warm up at all. So I always want to build that time in even before we do something like a zone 2 endurance ride. But while we're here, I'll go ahead and lay out the rest of our workout. We'll be here for the next 5 minutes, but once we get started, we'll have a 10-minute ramp-up period to start really engaging our legs, getting us ready for the work that we're gonna do. You might have clicked on this ride thinking, Trinity, how are you gonna make me work for 75 minutes in zone 2? And do not worry. Our main focus today is the endurance ride, building that foundational zone 2 fitness. But we are going to split it up with a few different cadences, a few different drills as well. As I noticed both on screen and our board over here, we'll have 4 main endurance blocks and we'll break them up with things like cadence practice, surges, and a little bit of form as well. And then within our endurance blocks, we're going to be including themes and different focuses to help make the time pass by a little bit faster. Make sure that we're getting good work on the bike. For now, we're searching for a super easy gear. Should feel like a 1 or 2 out of 10, almost no work going into those pedals, or zone 1 if you're using FTP. Speaking of FTP, our main focus for today is that nice zone 2 foundation. If you're an experienced rider and you know why you clicked on this video, then you know the exact purpose of this ride, that kind of long form endurance riding that's going to up that foundational fitness and ultimately increase your overall FTP when paired with those more challenging workouts. But if you're a new rider, if you have no idea what FTP means, that's totally fine. I'll share that the purpose for workouts like these, balancing our efforts with more strenuous rides, as well as rides like these, zone 2, lighter rides, more endurance rides, is first off to build that endurance. Getting that seat time on the bike. We're gonna be here for 75 minutes total today, which is not a short amount of time. Most of our workouts are around an hour. So pushing to 75 minutes gives us that extra bump in the time we're just sitting in the saddle, getting our bodies used to being on the bike. And a great purpose for zone 2 as well is that it never feels hard. And that's my goal for you today. In our ramp up, we're gonna work on feeling out those zones, getting into zone 2 and kind of trial and error what that effort should feel like. But the overall feeling is that at zone 2, you could ride for several hours. You should be able to carry that effort across a multi-hour ride and almost not feel the work that you're doing. By the end of these 75 minutes, you may start to feel it, and that's great, that's why we're here. But the bulk of this ride shouldn't feel super strenuous. I know I'm gonna sweat, I just do, I sweat a lot. But you will probably feel yourself sweating less, breathing not quite as hard through the main portion of these rides. In about 45 seconds, we'll have that opportunity to start honing in our cadence, start to find that zone 2 effort. Again, if you're using FTP, you'll know exactly kind of where to lock in. And so that main focus for you will just be sitting in that effort, starting to get a sense of what that feels like long term. But for the rest of us, some of us beginners and newbies on the bike, we're gonna have the opportunity to find that effort. Also start engaging our legs more heavily. And that's how we're gonna use the next 10 minutes coming up. All right, 5 seconds out. Go ahead, as we get into our ramp up period, start to find 80 to 90 RPM. That's where we're gonna spend a lot of our time today. I think on screen it'll actually say 85 to 95, with 90 being that nice middle ground between strength and speed. And that's usually the speed I recommend for that right kind of balance. But as long as your cadence tracker is somewhere between 85 and 95, especially for these first 10 minutes, that is exactly where you need to be. No pressure otherwise. If you're on something like a spin bike, I say spin bike, we're pretty much all on some sort of stationary setup, but whatever kind of bike you're on, whenever you're ready, start playing around with your gears just a little bit. We spent our first 5 minutes in that super easy zone, hardly feeling the pedals underneath our feet, felt like a 1 or 2 out of 10. As we start to ramp up and test out zone 2 so that we can execute our endurance intervals where we want them to be, we want to start to find that zone and find a 3 or 4 out of 10. It should still feel easy, but the markers I usually have, especially in my spin class, is that zone 2 feels like you're getting just a bit of support underneath your feet from those pedals. So feel free to play around with whatever kind of bike you're on, but the whole time, see if you can keep your cadence relatively steady. As you increase gear and start to feel that support, your body may want to slow down just a bit. So that'll be your challenge for the next few minutes here, getting used to that slightly elevated pace. And then as you feel the support underneath your feet, feeling those leg muscles start to turn on just a little bit. They're not working hard. This effort should not feel hard, especially during our ramp up. And as we go through the majority of our segments today, not feeling like it's a hard effort. And that can take a lot of practice. I'll tell you what, a lot of times when I hop on bikes at home and want to work on zone 2 training, I have the urge to want to go out fast. When I do outdoor rides, you tend to be pushing through the pedals with a lot of intention, climbing up hills, adding speed. Zone 2 really challenges you to sustain and hold that lower level effort, but it's paying you dividends once you get through those rides. So hopefully you've been playing around with your gears for the past few minutes or so. Still have a decent amount of time in our ramp up period. I do want us to get fully warmed up since we'll be spending a lot of time in zone 2 today. I wanted to give you an initial opportunity to get there. We're gonna get into the kind of main portion of our ramp up here in a second. And then in the minute or 2 leading up to that first endurance interval, we'll find this effort again. We're wanting to make sure it's familiar for you. In about 20 seconds, I'll have us up our speed just a little bit, and we're gonna keep our gear on. That's gonna help turn on our muscles a little bit more, get our cardio system woken up if it's not already. And let's go ahead. If you're at around 90 RPM, see if you can add 5 to 10 to get closer to 100. And we're just gonna hold this for the next minute, 60 seconds. As we settle into this higher cadence, because we've kept our gear, we have added power. And because we're adding speed specifically to that power, our body starts to move faster. They start to breathe with a little more intention. Our lungs start working and waking up. And that's what we want for the next 30 seconds or so. Not too much longer. But this is usually where I start to sweat just a little bit. I can feel it under my arms. I usually get up my nose as well. It's a little damp already. But we only have 10 seconds left here. Then we'll bring that speed back down. Nice job. Go ahead, get back to 90 or wherever you were for that zone 2 practice. Hold it here for a minute, and then we'll try adding a little bit of resistance. I love talking about power and power into the bike, essentially your watts, if you're familiar with that term. And there's two main ways in the bike to add power, especially on a stationary setup. You can either add it via speed, which we just did. More speed going into the bike means overall power. You can think about it like you're going faster. And the other way to do it is resistance. You're essentially making the bike harder to work so that you have to put more power into the bike to get it to go. We're about 10 seconds out from our power addition. I only need you guys to add 1 gear, or the equivalent of 1 gear here. But go ahead and add that next level. You might be feeling like you're right at a 5 out of 10. You're saying, all right, this isn't easy anymore, but shouldn't feel hard still. When you've added that gear, I still want to see if you can keep that same pace right at 90 RPM. Because in order to isolate one variable, right now we're doing it with our resistance, we want to keep the other variable constant. So we're keeping our speed constant and adding gear to get kind of this heavier power through our legs specifically. We just have about 10 seconds left right here. Then we'll get to take this gear off, have a minute to ourselves. Nice job. Take that gear off. Still hanging out at that 90 cadence. The reason why I'm having us hang out here at this speed specifically is because a lot of these endurance reps will be right around 90. You can choose 85, you can choose 95, you can choose 90. But our overall goal is to feel pretty close to this speed, not go too slow beneath, and we're not doing sprints today, so you don't need to go super fast either. We're gonna do one more of these ramp ups. We're gonna see if we can add both speed and resistance. Coming up in about 5 seconds. I'll walk you through it. Honestly, you probably won't be working the full minute. But let's go ahead, add 5 to 10 RPM first. Get to your new number, probably 95 or 100. And then once you're there, try adding an extra gear. When you add that extra gear, do your best not to let that cadence slip too far down. Keeping this slightly elevated pace with this gear now locked in, and we feel like we're putting in some work. On my bike, with the work that I've added, I probably jumped up 2 zones here. So from zone 2, sitting in zone 4, but we're only gonna be here for another 15 seconds or so. So keep pushing through, keep breathing, just letting our body get nice and warmed up so that by the time endurance starts, we're ready to roll. All right, go ahead. Take that gear off, slow your legs down. Get back into this nice, slower, controlled zone 2. About 45 seconds out before our first endurance interval hits. And the theme for this first set coming up is just to settle in. I know we had a few minutes here at the start, but now that our bodies are more awake, spent a few minutes on the bike, we may want to fine tune some of the work that we're doing. and just getting used to the feeling. I'll talk a bit more about why this workout is so unique once we get started. But for now, start thinking about the next 10 seconds before we get into the interval. Go ahead and find the cadence that you're going to use, give or take 5 on 90 RPM, and then find your gear. Let's go. Round 1, looking to settle into this effort. At some point in here, I'll probably give you a minute or two just to kind of self-reflect, make sure this effort feels good throughout the duration of this ride. But I will say right here, if you're a beginner rider and this is one of your first handful of times on the bike, I'm not gonna expect you to get this ride perfect. That is why we do rides like these, to figure out, fine tune, get a better sense of what are our zones. I know a lot of us are on spin bikes that don't show us FTP. It's kind of a specialized description or specialized framework. You either typically need an app or a special bike where you can plug in your details that will show you what your FTP is and give you your concrete zones on the bike. And then as well, once you're biking outside, I'd say most people who bike for fun, some sort of fun, aren't constantly matching up their watts or their power with FTP. A lot of people probably don't even have power meters. So the training that we do in here is just to help us know ourselves better, know our bikes a little bit better. And even if you never bike outside, you're still improving your overall fitness. And we're doing it in a light impact sort of way. And we get to hang out here for a little bit. I'll give you guys this next minute or two to kind of find your way. If at any time you find a break to get water, this whole ride is kind of a water-friendly interval. So take your time, settle in, and do what you need to do. All right, how you guys doing? Finding a good spot? I know I gave you that framework of how your effort should feel on the bike, so hopefully you're getting that 3 to 4 out of 10. And because we've locked in our cadence, we're somewhere between 85 and 95, all we need to adjust to either add or take away effort is the gear. So if you're having a tough time finding zone 2 or this level of effort on your bike, I always invite you to first check your speed. Make sure you're somewhere in that greater range, and then go up a few gears, go down a few gears. If the effort feels too easy, if you're saying to yourself, I don't even feel the pedals underneath my feet, go ahead and add a gear or 2, or however many you need. And if the effort feels really strenuous, like you're not gonna last, or you're gonna be pretty tired by the end of our time together, tag off a gear. take off some of that power so you come down to zone 2. It's all about finding that effort. Once you think you're in the right place as far as combination of speed and gear goes, you can also do a little check with yourself. Ask, do I have good control over my breathing, over my body? Because it feels like a 3 or 4 out of 10, you should definitely feel like you're in a conversational pace. You should be able to breathe in deeply. If you wanted to, you could even hold your breath for a little bit and then easily regain it. There are harder efforts that we do where holding our breath is not a good idea, and I'm not recommending it here either. But as far as what you should be able to do on the bike, totally manageable here. And a minute or two ago, I was able to push off my bike, still hold that cadence with the resistance that I have, and it was manageable. Usually when we get up to zones 4 and 5, it becomes harder to maintain the right amount of power, or specifically speed, when we're at those higher intensity efforts. At this point, you should be able to take deep breaths. Again, I told you guys I'd be sweating. Not sure if you can see it through the camera. That will happen regardless of what zone or effort I'm in, so if you're sweating too, that's probably okay. And we have less than 4 minutes left here in our first set. First, I want to make sure I have time to talk about what we're going to get into next with the Cadence Ladder. So we're going to work on increasing our cadence every minute for those 5 minutes with a little bit of reset before we get to our next endurance zone. But essentially we're going to start at 85 RPM, which may be slower than what you're pushing right now. I'm sitting pretty squarely at 90, so I'll actually have to slow myself down to start that 85. But then we'll creep up 5 RPM at a time. So we have a minute at 85, 90, 95, 100. And then we'll use that last minute to reset, get back into your desired speed. And this is, by a grand majority, a zone 2 endurance ride. But for the sake of our Cadence Ladder, I'm just gonna have you guys leave your gear. We spent a long time finding that right gear for ourselves. And so as we change our speed, you'll probably feel your overall effort change within those 5 minutes. But that's okay. It's 5 minutes out of the 75 total that we're doing. So it'll be all right. And then for 3 out of those 5 minutes, really 4 out of those 5 minutes, will generally be within the range of zone 2 anyway. So we're not going to be hiking our effort too much here. We have about a little over 90 seconds before we'll start that Cadence Ladder. But what I'll add here, because you may be feeling it close to this 10-minute mark of our endurance interval, you're saying, I've been sitting down for a long time. My seat's starting to hurt. And that will happen. That's okay. I will say a primary focus of this workout specifically is for those longer endurance rides. A lot of time when you're riding outside for several hours, you're not doing a ton of standing on the bike. So this workout is going to increase the seated time on the bike. Sorry about that. I got a little bit distracted. I tried to connect my watch to the whole bike setup, but maybe it's for the best that I stop it so we don't have an interruption again. But for now, we're gonna focus on what's gonna happen 30 seconds from now. We're gonna get down to 85 RPM. Again, my challenge for you is to not touch your gear if you can help it, especially since we're starting slower. It might even feel a bit easier than what you've been doing. But go ahead, keep an eye on your cadence. Thinking about slowly bringing it down to 85 RPM. And let's go ahead and do that. Keep your legs moving in a circle, but slow them just enough that you see that number start to creep down. And then once you're sitting at 85, we're holding it here for just a minute. You'll probably feel your legs moving just a bit slower, which means that overall, biking might feel easier than what you've been doing for the past 10 minutes. You can kind of think of this as a little break between our endurance efforts. For now, we will add speed coming up here soon. In about 15 seconds, we're gonna add just 5 RPM, take it up to 90. So getting ready not to sprint, just to gradually bring up the pace of our legs. And let's go ahead and do that. Just start to move your legs a bit faster. You'll see your cadence comes up, and then we'll hold it there. Our goal for each one of these is to not shoot beyond that next cadence marker. It's just to slowly start pushing the speed enough that we see those numbers climbing one at a time. And then once we land at our new marker, hold it there. This is both for general accuracy on the bike, because we could go up, down, up, down, up, down until we find that number. So working on the accuracy, and then also working on efficiency. If we can get up to that speed without going over and correcting, that makes our ride more efficient overall. But here we go, that was a quick minute. Let's go ahead and slowly push those cadence markers. Slowly, slowly, one at a time, until we get up to 95 RPM. Holding this for just a minute. We only have one step up to go from here, which is getting up to 100. If for whatever reason 100 RPM is not feasible for you, if it's too fast outside of your zone, then just stick with 95. Hold something that is comfortable for you, but see if you can keep something that is slightly elevated. And we're gonna think about our next switch coming up in about 15 seconds. Still breathing nice and controlled. And let's slowly add more pace. See if we can just creep up to 100 and then not go over. Ooh, my legs are telling me I'm not used to this speed just yet. And it's pretty much what I expected. So you may have to remind your body to keep up with that cadence. But we're only here for a minute total. The last minute in this segment, we're gonna use just to reset, find our speed for endurance round 2. 20 seconds left here. Keep breathing. Your body's moving a little bit faster, but it's manageable. Five seconds left. Keep holding this little push, and then slow your legs down. Bring it back just to that pace that you were holding from before. Our goal here is not to stop our legs or bring it below that range that we've been holding, because we do want to keep our body working through this ride. Low, consistent longer efforts through these 75 minutes. This interval will run out soon, and then we're gonna get right into endurance round 2. As we start this next interval, you don't need to change a thing. If you've adjusted your pace and you're settled in here, just keep biking per usual. But as we start this round, we have another focus for us here. We're really looking at efficiency this time around. I know I talked about it when we were doing our cadence ladder, making our ride efficient, making sure we're not shooting beyond certain RPMs just to bring it back down. So kind of carrying over that theme here and thinking about efficiency, but now we're doing it more so with our body rather than just speed on the bike. So taking a few minutes here, I'll walk us through some aspects about our form, how we should be feeling on the bike. And this is a great time to do it because we're holding this nice sustained zone 2. We're not pushing too actively during this ride. So hopefully you're able to carry over the effort that we finished up with on our cadence ladder. And as you're doing that, you're feeling your feet move around the pedals in your bike. Pretty much at any given time, you're able to feel the pedals underneath your feet. I'll get back to that concept in just a second. But as your legs are going around, they're flush with your shoes, which are flush with the pedals, and you're feeling them spin in those nice little circles. From the top part, the very top part of your circle, to right around that 6 o'clock mark, as your pedals are going forward, you feel your legs pushing down through the pedal, which is great and totally expected. For that movement, you're probably using a lot of your quads, the top sides of your legs, to push around. Again, at zone 2, it doesn't feel like they're working super hard, but just see if you can think about that muscle engagement, which muscles you're using. And you should probably be a majority at the top part of your leg. Once your feet come down and through that pedal stroke, as I mentioned earlier, your feet should still be flush with your shoes, flush with the pedal. But as they're coming up on the backside of that pedal stroke, I want to see if you can think about isolating that backside of your leg. That as they come up and through, you can think about your hamstrings, which is on the backsides of your thighs, as well as even your glutes, which is a much harder muscle to activate. But seeing if you can focus bringing your pedals around and through with the backsides of your legs. Knowing that we're here for a longer ride, if you rely solely on your quads, you're gonna get pretty tired. And it's almost not fair for those muscles on the backsides of your legs because they're not getting to put in any of the work. So seeing if you can spread out that work just a bit. And not only will that make your endurance higher because you've equaled out the balance of the muscles that are working, but you're also going to help with the development of those muscles. If you only ever used your quads for anything, your quads would get super strong, but the backsides of your legs would be pretty weak. So taking opportunities like these to think about using your full leg. All right, enough about the legs. You guys get the picture. Just taking some time to think about that. Once your legs start to meet at your hips, we're wanting our hips to be square over the saddle, not moving from side to side. You guys can see what that would look like if I did. So seeing if you can keep a nice and level seat on the saddle. And that creates the foundation for all of your upper body. If your hips are square, that's going to make your spine sit in line on top of your hips. So we want our spine to be coming straight out from our seat. And because most of us are probably leaning forward just a bit on the bike, thinking about our hands pretty much just here for support for our upper body. But if you can also engage your core just a little bit, that's also great practice too, to help strengthen your core and make sure you're not just slumping over on the bike. We want to make sure that everything is nice, controlled, and supported. A good way to test this is to see if you can take away one hand, take away the other hand without the opposite shoulder dipping towards the bike. And then if you want to practice one more level, taking away both hands. You probably couldn't go 75 minutes right here, but if you could take away your hands and keep that angle of your torso, that's probably a good sign that you are engaging your core. If you're not there just yet, if you kind of feel yourself falling, that is totally okay. But just knowing that biking, even though it is a majority of our legs and lower body, our upper body is still putting in the work. So if you do have opportunities in the future to strengthen your core, that's always a great idea, just for general quality of life, but as a cyclist as well. Coming up to the top of our body here, kind of finishing out the picture. Again, hands solid, stable for support. Hips are solid, straight line coming out of our spine. And so where they meet at our shoulders are nice and still, and they're relaxed. If we're here, it's gonna be a long ride ahead of us. So see if we can keep our shoulders away from our ears, relaxed and down, and still. Again, if your hips and your core is engaged in a straight line, we can probably avoid some of this on the bike. But especially as we're thinking about efficiency, if we can keep our shoulders in a square line and let our legs move us in the direction that we want to go, which is forward, it's going to make for a more efficient ride. It'll let you go faster down the line and ultimately make you a better rider as well. The very last piece here is your head on top. Since we're sitting for majority of this ride, looking for that nice clean line, I wouldn't expect your head to be bobbing around that much, especially while you're seated. But just making sure that your head's not trying to compensate either for the direction that we're riding. So everything nice, still, and controlled. You've been doing these mental checks with yourself. And I'll probably revisit this briefly towards the end of the ride as we start to feel that fatigue set in. But at this point, we're under 2 minutes left in this second block. And so after this, we'll start our single leg focus. I know I talked a lot about our legs, but that was teeing us up for this next 5-minute block. My focus in this next segment coming up is going to be isolating each leg. Obviously, our pedals are connected, so both legs will still be moving. But I want to see if we can engage one leg at a time, and the other leg is just along for the ride. We're going to hold each single leg side for 2 minutes, so 2 minutes on the right, 2 minutes on the left, and then 1 minute at the end to get it all back together. And really the purpose of this drill is in line with that efficiency, making sure both legs are doing equal work, because once we force one leg to do all the work, we'll notice if it's been slacking this whole time. And during rides like these, we'll have the opportunity to correct it if that is the case, so that before you go out on a multi-hour outdoor ride, or just start biking more, you won't be bringing those off-centered habits to those bigger rides. So about 15 seconds out, I'm gonna start on my right side here. So if you like to do the same, you can, or you can mirror me, whichever works better. But let's go ahead, start to think just about your right leg, pushing down and pulling up through the pedals. It's gonna feel a bit wonky at first, even I had to get used to it, but you're probably going to feel more overall engagement in your right leg here because your left leg is now just riding freely. You're gonna feel your right leg pushing down through the pedal and pulling up through that bottom of the pedal stroke to get your momentum all the way around the pedals. And pretty soon, you should notice not a total burn in your right leg, but your muscles are recognizing that they have to work for this next minute or so. If you're doing this exercise and telling yourself, this feels like the exact same thing I was doing, then we'll keep that in mind. We'll come back to it once we switch to the left side. But for now, 1 more minute here. Keep it going. Kind of letting our right leg do this extra work so that by the time we switch and put our left leg to work, our right leg's gonna say, thank you. I was carrying all of that for 2 minutes. We'll make sure it's equal. Still seeing if we can hold the same steady pace throughout, and hopefully our upper body hasn't changed too much. It might feel tempting here, and that's totally fine. But seeing if we can just bring a little bit of focus into that for the next few seconds before we switch sides. Whew. That right leg is feeling some of that work creep in. It's ready to switch, but hold for 10 more seconds here. Keep pushing with the right. And here we go, swap to the left. If you want, just for those first few seconds, to get used to the feeling, you can kind of lean into the left-hand side to get your body weight to help you push that leg down. But once you get that feeling in your mind of, okay, it's what it feels like to have my left leg push, see if you can recenter yourself. Already, your right leg should feel way better. It has all the weight taken off of it. We're putting all the weight through the left leg here. Right leg is just along for the ride. And again, right now is where we can compare. Okay, does this feel the same as what I was doing before on our endurance blocks? Does it feel like the same but reciprocated effort from when our right leg was working? And depending on what your answer is there, we can make tweaks, we can make changes. If what we're doing right now doesn't feel any different at all from our right side, then we may need to do just a bit more work on actually isolating our legs. Because when we do this well, and it's just hard to see when you're actually on the bike, but when we do this well, each side, once we put our focus into it, we can almost feel it tensing up, doing that extra work, pushing that all the power for our entire body through one leg instead of two. In about 15 seconds, we'll get to split up that work again. So if you have been feeling it in your left leg, this will feel like a relief. And seeing if we can notice the real difference, bring some attention to both legs. And let's do it. Equal out those pedals. It might take a second or two to get back into that feeling. But now that you have both legs working, it might even feel kind of good. You're saying, wow, all right, both legs equally balancing out that effort means that each leg can do half as much as if it was working by itself. And we just have 30 seconds left here. My hope is that with this time, you can get back into that nice, steady zone 2 rhythm, somewhere between 85 to 95 RPM. Getting ready for block number 3 out of 4. How about that? Getting over that halfway point. Awesome. So just holding this effort and this pace specifically, nice and smooth through these next 10 minutes. And we do have a new theme here. I'll talk about it in just a second because you guys have pretty much gotten the hang of this now. I do want to recognize you've been sitting for a while. I talked about it a few minutes ago and said I'd be back to chat about it. We're back now. You're probably feeling it in your seat bones. If you're on your own, you might have taken the opportunity by yourself just to say, all right, I'm gonna add some gear. I'm gonna stand for a minute or two. That's great. Whatever makes it so that you can last this entire workout, that's awesome. So if you haven't done that yet, and you've been waiting for me to cue you, feel free to go ahead, add some gears, stand, take a seat, do whatever you like. Change positions to offload some of that pressure on your seat. And then when you're ready, come right back to that zone 2, same effort that we've been holding. I'm gonna get a sip of water as well. Ooh, nice. Hopefully feeling yourself kind of come back down. I know in our 5-minute block, we were putting in slightly more effort in general because we were focusing on one leg at a time, and that probably just felt harder to maintain. So hopefully coming back to the zone 2 effort, regaining our breathing, feeling our body do what's normal again. And hey, if you did notice a difference between your right and left side, if you're putting any of that to work here and really trying to even out the effort that your legs are pushing on each side, that's awesome. Looking to hold that for these last 2 segments here. And I probably will just stop my watch so it doesn't bother us again. But you guys are making great pace through this workout. This section here, I'll acknowledge, is probably where it may start to get tough. You're saying, okay, I've already done 2 segments, and I have another to do after this. And so that mental block can absolutely show up, and that's totally fine. But to help work our way through the next 7 minutes, less than, taking some time to think about connection. Connection of our legs to the bike, connecting the ideas that we've established through the first few sets and those kind of in-between intervals. Man, it is allergy season out here right now. It's late April. And I was dying earlier, just sneezing over and over again. So, trying to fight off that feeling. Anyway, so connecting the ideas that we built in the bike so far, feeling our legs connect to those pedals and pushing them around smoothly. This should not feel like stomping through the pedals, trying to get there 1 foot at a time. It should feel like each foot is doing its part equally, both front side and back side of the pedals. And because you have both feet working together, it should feel really nice and smooth. And again, with zone 2 work specifically, feeling a calm, controlled effort. This is your multi-hour ride kind of effort. So feeling like you could last here for a while. And again, as I mentioned, by the time we get to that 75% mark, you may be feeling it just a bit. And that's okay. I don't mean for you to get off this bike and to not be tired at all. That is not the goal. But my hope is that any given time, this level of effort feels nice, relatively easy, and controlled. So putting those ideas together of what we've been locking in for the first few rounds and doing a quick check-in with your cadence as well, making sure it hasn't slipped too far. My hope is that at some point, either through this ride or with repeated rides, that you can get a really good sense of what different paces feel like on the bike. And I'll say this now, I couldn't bike at a certain speed, not look at my computer, and then say, oh yes, this is 87 RPM. My goal, or what I'm capable of, is not that specific. But once you've reached 90 RPM and stayed there for 20, 25 minutes, then you can look away, do other things, even if you lose focus for a second. But then your body, your muscle memory, holds that speed for you, so that by the time you look back down at your bike computer, you're saying, wow, all right, I'm exactly where I left it. Because we've established that strong baseline. Now we just have to hold it. Nice. We have just about 3 minutes left in this segment here, and we have one more in between, which is our Cadence Surge. So for that, we're gonna have 3 sets of 30-second surges. And what that looks like will be 1 minute kind of at the start to prep ourselves, maybe find a new gear that will support us as we go faster. And then 1 minute at the end, of course, to reset. But right in the middle is 3 prime minutes where we're gonna use half of any given minute to add speed. You might have heard me say, change gear, find new gear. And you're wondering, Trinity, I thought this was a zone 2 ride. It is, and we will be back here in zone 2 for 10 minutes towards the end of this ride. But to give ourselves the opportunity to shake things out a little bit, because even when we're holding a relatively easy effort, our bodies can still get pretty tired. So kind of giving a little shakeout speed opportunity to break things up. And there will also be the mini test of, can we get back to this effort for the last 10 minutes? If you're on a pretty basic bike setup, or if you're a beginner on the bike and you're worrying, oh my gosh, I did all this effort to find my zone 2 and I don't want to lose it, that's totally fine. What you can take note of here that may help you get back to the same place after we do our intervals is, of course, looking at your cadence. That will pretty much be the constant between zone 2 efforts. So if you're at 90 right now, know that you'll be back at 90 for the last set. And then the only other thing you need to remember is what gear you're at right now. If you're on a spin bike at home, it'll probably tell you what gear you're holding. Or if you've mounted your own personal bike on a trainer, you can even count the rings on your cassette if you really want to be specific, and you can do that. Last option here is really looking at power on your bike, because combination of speed and resistance is power. And if we know what speed we're going to hold, we can just add or take away gears until we get back to the power or watts that we're at right now. But we'll get back here, no worries. For now, we're about 15 seconds out, finishing up this zone 2 interval strong here. We'll have a full minute in this next round to play with our gears just a little bit. So what you can do now, go ahead and try maybe adding a gear, depending on what your bike is or how it operates and how gears work. You may need more than a gear, you may need a handful, but seeing if once you've added a gear, if you think that you'll be able to add some speed here and have the support you need. Really what I'm looking for is that when you add speed through your legs aren't flying out of your bike or losing control. So we're still looking for control in the bike, even when we're speeding up. So work on finding those gears a little bit. When we do add speed, which will be at the top of this minute, we're gonna go for 30 seconds. My goal for you is around 110, if you can find that and hold it. If you wanna go faster, that's fine. But let's go ahead and get it started now. Slowly pick up that speed. Feel that extra power behind your legs. See if you can get up close to 110. Again, or above, that's what you're ready for. But we're holding this elevated pace, feeling our breathing pick up just a bit. And we're here for 10 more seconds, so keep it going. 3, 2, 1, bring it down. Slow your legs down for the next 30 seconds. Getting back to 90 RPM or just below if you need your body to move slower. And at the top of this next minute, we're gonna go again. This is race 2 out of 3. So we're not doing too many of these. Take a deep breath, reset, and let's go here. 30 seconds, speeding up our legs. If you need to adjust your gear at all between sets, definitely do that. But otherwise, looking for 110, feeling good support underneath our legs. Feeling our legs push down through the pedals and holding onto this cadence for 5 more seconds. Come on. And slow it down. Whew. Riding an outdoor bike on a trainer and changing speed suddenly is not its forte. But using this 15 seconds, find a breath. Just one more of these. 30 seconds of work, that's it. And then we're done with the work for this set here. Let's add speed in 3, 2, 1, let's go. Bring it up. Keep your breathing under control. Maintain deep breaths through your diaphragm for as long as you can. Getting enough air through your system, even while your legs are moving faster. And keep it going here. Hold this elevated pace, you got it. Keep it going for 5, 3, 2, 1. Slow it down. And seeing if you can bring it down gradually to 90 or 85 or wherever you're gonna settle. Again, my bike is not the greatest at that. I could work on it a bit more, but all right, nice job. We did 3 good sets of speed. We have a full minute here to get water, reset, and then we have 10 more minutes of zone 2 work. Then we're done, we're cooling down. A little less than a minute here. If you want to take off that extra gear or however many gears you added for those surge efforts, you can start to get back into zone 2. Grab some water as well. That's what I'm about to do. Probably feeling your breathing come back down to a reasonable place. We definitely brought our cardio up a bit with that one. Your heart rate may be a bit higher than what it was at before. So bringing it down right into zone 2. And just going straight into this next interval. Correcting your cadence if you need it at all. Again, as long as you're within 85 to 95, that's good enough for me. That's the range I'd be looking for you. And if you did leave your resistance level, added resistance for our speed, do a quick check to see that you've come back to that same place. And you have been sitting for a while, so if you ever want to take another standing break, absolutely do that. Take a few seconds to stretch your legs, and then come back down for this last segment. This last push here and the theme surrounding it is just about holding the effort, which sounds pretty basic, and you might say, Trinity, I thought you'd have more for us than that. But at the end of this workout, you guys will have done 40 minutes of pure zone 2 endurance work, and that's a long time to be in any zone. Of course, being in zone 2, it's more manageable. You can hold that zone for longer, but just because you physically can doesn't mean that it hasn't taken a toll, both on your mind and on your body. Something with this last set is that your body might say, all right, we've been working at this level for 40 minutes, and I'm kind of tired. And so looking to see if we can hold the effort through that physical fatigue. And then the other part of it is, okay, I've been sitting on a bike for a while now, getting close to that. Actually, we're just over the hour mark. So knowing that we've crossed that threshold, your body may be saying, I would just rather be doing something else than finishing up this last set. But so keeping your focus in those places, focusing on just holding that effort, knowing at the end of these 10 minutes, you're gonna be a stronger rider than when you started. I'll probably give you a few minutes slightly closer to the end just for yourselves, using whatever motivation you need to get through the last little segment of this workout. Because everybody's different. I know I used to do Taekwondo relatively competitively, and I trained with another girl who was my age and my training partner. And our coach shared with us at one point, he said, man, what I use as a tactic for one of you, I cannot use with the other. I was relatively sensitive to critical feedback, and so anytime my coach would want to correct something in me, he'd have to kind of sandwich it with compliments. He'd go, okay, great work, Trinity. How about we focus on tweaking this or that thing, but overall, looking great so far. That way I was still feeling encouraged through the process, even though I was still making corrections. But for the other girl, she just needed some tough love. That's how she reacted best. So our coach would say, no, you're not putting in the work that you need. Do you even want to be here? I need to see more effort out of you. And that would kind of light the fire underneath her to put in more work. But yeah, if my coach ever tried to use that on me, I would probably just crumble. So that being said, each person has something different that can motivate them. Sometimes I like to encourage picturing getting to the top of a hill or the top of a long climb. We have been biking for a long time today, so if you want to reward yourself with a nice view or something at the end of this longer segment, that can absolutely work. I know some people just need to sit down and kind of grind, almost that tough love approach of like, all right, grin and bear it, just about push through these last 5.5 minutes, let's go. And then some people obviously just react well to pure encouragement. You're almost there, you're gonna get there. Which, that works well also. I mentioned that we had just crested that 1 hour mark. So that being said, we put an entire hour behind us. We only have 5 more minutes of work left, and then we can recover for 5, or cool down for 5. So if that's the route you want to go down, there definitely is stuff there to pull from. But wherever you are, I promise I'd come back to our form, because I know we're starting to get tired. I'm feeling ravenous for some reason, so I'm gonna need a snack after this. But checking in with yourself, especially your form on the bike. As we start to get tired, there's parts of our form that might slip, or might wanna slow down. But seeing if we can keep it together. Connection through our legs, keep our legs working. Keeping our core still engaged, shoulders down away from your ears, slight bend in your elbows to keep you supported. So our body's in check. And then with all that lined up, checking on your cadence as well, keeping it in the same place. And still making sure you're breathing throughout everything. It's hard for me to check on you guys through videos like this, but if you're going through this workout and wondering, I'm so out of breath on the bike, one of the things I'd invite you to check on here is, are you still actually breathing? It can be an almost natural response, especially as we get tired, to kind of tense up and forget to breathe. So then our body's under greater stress. We feel like we're not getting any air. But think about it. Zone 2, a leisurely ride. At this kind of effort, you could be riding outside with a friend. I have lots of lakes and trails near me, so if you are similar, have some good views for rides that you could do. Feels pretty leisurely. We're just making our way one pedal stroke at a time, not stomping through the pedals, letting them move around in nice little circles. We're getting inside the last 3 minutes here. Probably give you the next 1.5 minutes to yourselves and then help wrap us up and take us into cool down. So go ahead, go for it. Whatever mental tactic you need, just hold it for a little bit. Maintaining nice deep breaths. Don't let your cadence go anywhere. How's it going? 1 more minute left. I'll chat us through the end of our work here, and then we'll have 5 minutes here at the end to make sure we cool down well and let our legs spin out with somehow even less effort underneath our pedals here. But if you stopped breathing at any point, bring your breath back. You need oxygen to get through these last few seconds. At this point, you've basically made it to the end. I won't say congratulations just yet, not until we reach the cool down. But in about 20 seconds, you'll have done 40 minutes of work in zone 2. And you'll have worked on 3 different drills, isolating cadences, isolating effort through your legs, and spinning out, adding some speed for just a bit. And that's it. Go ahead, take off the gear if you're ready. Just looking for an easy spin. I don't even care about the speed that you're going. Looking for free spin here. Feel free to push away from your bike. Feel free to stand if you've been holding off on that. But just giving ourselves 5 minutes to kind of come down from that last effort. I know I said that zone 2 is supposed to be 3 or 4 out of 10, feeling relatively easy at any given time. But after a 70-minute big chunk workout and then 40 minutes of actually doing that zone 2 work, your legs can get a little bit fatigued. I know mine were starting to feel that push right towards the end, especially my hamstrings. But these rides are great for building that foundational fitness, for getting some of that longer term stamina and endurance into the ride without fighting through those higher effort zones. So you guys have done a great thing by joining me in this workout today, and congratulations for making it through that entire ride. I'm gonna have us continue to spin through these next 3 to 4 minutes here, and I'll guide us through a few cool down stretches as well while we're on the bike. Once this video ends and you're off the bike, I always encourage extra stretches if you're going to do them, or if you hop into the next workout, feel free to do that at any time. But even for rides like these, lower effort but longer, we've sweat today. We've put in some work. Your body probably needs a bit more water than what we were giving it. Probably could use a good protein snack. So making sure you do the right things to recover well, in addition to the stretches that we do here. So if you're feeling pretty good, if you weren't sitting up straight already and your legs are still spinning pretty freely, we can start a few of our stretches together. First of which is sitting up tall, and then open your arms out wide towards the wall behind you. I'm stuck in a little corner here, but trying to get the picture of opening up your chest, kind of feeling that stretch across your body and a pinch between your shoulder blades in the back. We've been at our handlebars for a while today, so giving your upper body that opportunity to straighten itself out and get that good stretch in. If you're out here, you can also flip your hands over just to kind of get that opposite stretch from when your hands were up. But from there, we'll drop our arms, interlacing your fingers behind your back, and then pushing your hands towards the ground and your chin up towards the ceiling. Again, feeling that pinch between your shoulder blades. And then tucking your chin down towards your chest. Sometimes after sitting at my desk all day, I can get a really long, good stretch down the length of my back. And then we'll give it a quick shake out. One arm across our chest, tugging it in, bringing that arm in. And then that same arm goes up and over for a tricep stretch. Getting that good stretch inner upper body. That does get tired after 75 minutes on the bike. Then same thing on the other side, tugging your arm in, pulling it close to our body. I'm trying to avoid the microphone here, but see if you can get as close to your body as possible. And then that same arm goes up and over for your tricep stretch. And then we'll bring it back down, give ourselves this last minute just to spin things out, finish up our remaining time here. If you're looking for good stretches off the bike, you can stop your pedals, getting your feet level, so one foot in front of the other on the bike, standing up and then pushing your hips forward, which will get a good stretch in your hip flexors and your calves. And then from there, if you hinge at your hips and do a forward fold from that same standing position, you can feel a good stretch on your hamstrings on the back sides of your legs. So those are good leg stretches to do with the bike while you're on the bike, but once you stop moving. For now, we're getting ready to close out this session. You guys did fantastic work. Great job today. Awesome endurance ride. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for riding with me today. If you liked today's video, feel free to give it a thumbs up or save it to a collection for next time. If you want to see more of these, subscribe and get alerted to new videos. And if there are any workouts you'd like to see, comment them down below. Hope you all enjoyed today's ride, and we'll see you next time.